to see you all here tonight. So we're going to record this tonight. We're going to be putting it on the internet. So don't worry, your heads are to the camera, so you'll be fine. We won't see you on the internet. But part of our process is to help us educate as many people as we can. And some people just cannot get here. So we're going to start that process of being able to educate you through the internet. So tonight's talk is called The Healer Within. Right? So I don't know if you ever thought about it, but what is the healer that's within you? How do you heal? You ever thought about it? You just kind of, I mean, it just happens for us, doesn't it? I mean, if you cut yourself, what happens? You bleed, right? You might put a Band-Aid on it. Now, some people think the Band-Aid is what heals them, but the body actually heals itself from inside out. That's what happens. That's the healer. The healer is on the inside of us. So we have this term right here called innate intelligence, right? And in chiropractic philosophy, that is the healer that's inside of all of us. It's the innate ability of the body to control and run and to recover when it's been damaged, right? So this word innate, does anybody know what that word means? Yes?
You're born with it.
Yes, inborn. Perfect. That's exactly what it is. It's inborn, right? And the word intelligence, what does that word imply?
Art.
Yeah, like you learned that, right? So this intelligence is something a little bit different. We're not talking about educated intelligence, book intelligence. We're talking about the wisdom that's innately inside the body, a wisdom that you are born with. So in chiropractic, there's a triune. In every profession, there's a triune. There's the philosophy of that profession, there's the science of that profession, there's the art of that profession. Tonight we're going to talk about this, the philosophy. So here's the major premise of chiropractic. I'm sorry with the lights on, it's a little bit difficult to read. But it says that there's a universal intelligence that's within all matter, and that matter, that continually gives to that matter all of its properties and actions, and thus maintains it in existence. Right? So what the heck does that mean? What the heck does that mean, right? So if we look at the words themselves, we break them down, universal implies that it's everywhere present, right? So there's a big intelligence, and it's in everything. It's in every single one of us. It's also in every single plant, it's in every single animal, it's everywhere present. And that intelligence gives to that matter all of its properties and actions. It's how it works, how it exists. Does that make sense to you? Do you understand? Okay, good. So here's some examples of universal intelligence, the greater picture of intelligence in the world. So we can look at, and I think probably the biggest example of universal intelligence is this idea of the circle of life. That we would have a plant, and that the plant from the ground will get the nutrients that it needs for it to live, right? And then we have the bunny that eats the plant, and then the plant supplies to the bunny the nutrients that it needs to live. And then we have the tiger that eats the bunny, and then the tiger gets the nutrients that it needs to live, and then eventually the tiger lays down and dies. When the tiger lays down and dies, its body is broken down into its basic elements, and that supplies to the plant what it needs for the plant to live. Does that make sense to you? You understand that circle of life? It's something that I think that all of us have exposure to. So there's great intelligence in that design. That doesn't happen by chance. It's designed to be that way, so that there's a continual flow. What happens to the fish in the pond in the wintertime? Anybody know what happens to the fish?
They die.
They don't. Amazingly. You think that they would, right? So how do the fish survive when the pond's frozen over in the wintertime? Anybody know?
They go into a hibernation.
They hibernate.
They slow, their body processes slow way down.
Right. But where do they go? To the bottom.
Yeah.
Right? They stay largely at the bottom of the lake or the bottom of the pond. And how is water designed? Water is lighter when it's colder. It rises, colder water rises to the top. So we end up with the colder water, the molecules that form the ice actually have risen to the top, and then it freezes from the top. Now, if it did it the other way around, what's going to happen? It's going to kill everything in the pond or the lake or the stream or whatever's freezing over, right? So there's a design to the world in which we live. So we have to take notice of the world in which we're living in. Have a seat, some right there for you.
Thanks.
You're welcome. If we don't stop and smell the roses, so to speak, right, then we're going to miss these examples of how this world has been created for us and how universal intelligence has placed for us this amazing array of opportunities to be able to recognize what blessings we have in our lives. And that universal intelligence is endowed in every single one of us. It's in all of us. What's the difference if I took a male cadaver, right, a dead body, and I laid it on that table, and I laid down on this table here? Anatomically, are we the same? Yes or yes? Yes. We're anatomically the same. The anatomy of our bodies, if he's a male and I'm a male, is the same, right? However, what's the difference in physiology between the two? My body laying there and a dead body laying there.
Yours is breathing.
There's huge difference, yes. Breathing and on and on and on, right? My heart is pumping, we have respiration, we have all those things that are going on inside. My body is not going on in that dead body. But what is the real difference between the two? It's really the life force, is it not?
Yeah.
The life force has left that body, but it still exists in this one. So this is the thing that we're talking about here tonight. This idea of the principle of innate intelligence. That is the healer that is within you. So the mission of innate intelligence is to make sure that it maintains the material of our bodies in active organization. So we have universal laws and universal principles, don't we? Gravity is an example of a universal law, right? If I'm out in the desert, do you ever see those in those desert formations where they have this giant boulder that's at the top of this little tiny rock? And you look at that and you're like, how the heck is that staying up there? Let's just say you're walking underneath it and it falls, right? Is gravity going to work?
Yes.
Yeah. What's going to happen to that rock? It's going to fall down, right? And if you're standing under it, guess what? You're a plasma pancake, right? Because universal law and universal principle is gravity is going to work. Now you have an innate principle too. The innate intelligence of your body is going to do what? Get out of here, right? You're gonna activate these systems that have been put in place for you to maintain your life in existence and organization. Does that make sense to you? So the innate intelligence of the body is what heals us. It's what controls us. It's what functions us as human beings. So the thing that we have to focus on in chiropractic is that innate intelligence uses one system to communicate. And what's the system? Anybody know? Central nervous system. The central nervous system is a communication conduit for innate intelligence. It's how your body's intelligence is able to control and to function you and to heal you. So we know that when we have multiple vertebrae and they stack up around the spinal cord, which is an extension of the brain, and we know that in between these vertebrae exits all the nerve roots of our body, right? So when one of these vertebrae shift from their alignment, what are they going to do to that communication channel?
Cut it off.
Yes, they're going to, if they don't completely cut it off, it's going to interfere with it at the least, right? So we have this coordination of all of our body function that happens through the central nervous system through this idea of innate intelligence. That the innate intelligence of the body can communicate through this system, and that happens for us continuously. Every single second of every single day, whether we're cognitively aware of it or we are not, that's what's happening for us. So as you sit here right now, you don't have to think about how many of you had dinner before you came here. Good. You don't have to think about how you're taking what you just had for dinner and you're digesting that and breaking it down into its smallest molecules and moving that into your bloodstream so that can then be transported into your cells as the necessary tissues to, or necessary components to create energy or to repair tissue. You know, how do we take a McDonald's hamburger and make an eye cell out of that? How does that happen? I don't know. I don't know how to do that, right? I mean, how are you? You don't have to think right now, hey, what's the blood pressure in my big toe? And how much oxygenation do I have throughout my body? I mean, if I had to think about that, I'd be dead a long time ago, as would all of us. So this innately operates for us. This goes on continually for us, and we don't have to think about it. It is through this same principle that our bodies can recover and heal. Because we've never been with less, right? We never have less innate intelligence. We just have a loss of communication of that innate intelligence. So when we reduce these subluxations, then what happens? We restore the communication, right? If the communication is restored, and now that inside of you that knows how to make you be you is able to communicate more fully, then guess what happens to you? You heal yourself. You function at a higher level. You work better than you did before because that's the way you're designed to work. That's what you're intended to do. What has medicine said about chiropractic?
Quackery.
Quacks. Don't know what they're doing. Not real doctors. No science behind what they do. Right? What else have you heard about chiropractic? Doesn't have to be from an MD. What else have you heard? People on the street.
Placebo.
Yeah. Oh, you're getting better because you think you're getting better. Because you've engaged with somebody who says you can get better, and because they say you can get better, you think you can get better, now you're going to get better. Right? That's a good one. Nobody ever brings that up. I love that. And it's going to tie in perfectly with what we're going to talk about in a minute. What else have you heard about chiropractic?
It's
They
dangerous.
can hurt
It's
you.
dangerous. Who said that? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's dangerous.
They
And
can
what-
hurt you.
They can hurt you, right?
Mhm.
And absolutely, when we look at malpractice insurance rate, chiropractic has the lowest malpractice insurance rate of any healthcare provider. Hey, insurance companies aren't wrong. They're not going to take the gamble with having a low premium if there's a lot of injury that happens in that profession, right? So it's absolutely safe. There's no doubt about it. So we could go on and on and on with these examples, but I just want you to understand that the key to this whole conversation is that your bodies have the ability to heal themselves. You are the healer inside of you. I don't heal you. Dr. Rosemary doesn't heal you. The adjustment is only a vehicle to get your healing power to express itself more fully. So here's what scientists, medical scientists, are saying about chiropractic. The mere weight of a dime on a spinal nerve root is enough to reduce nerve impulses by 60%. Dr. Sue, University of Colorado, that research came out in 1996. Organs supplied by pinched nerves revealed pathological changes. Dr. Henry Windsor, MD, right? This guy looked at, I think it was 138 different cadavers, people who had perished, and then he did autopsies. And what he wanted to know from his research was, what organ system caused the demise of the person? What killed them? And then he looked at that organ system, and then he traced back the nerve roots back to the spine. And what he found in every single case was a withered and damaged nerve root. Right? Wow. Right? This dude's an MD, and he's doing that research. And this guy, guess where he did his research? University of Pennsylvania. Good school? Yeah. And guess when this study was released? Published when? 1921.
Wow.
Why have you never heard about it? I don't know, we'll leave that for another talk. Ronald Pirro, cancer researcher, Columbia University, New York City. Subluxations. These vertebrae out of alignment and compressed nerves and choke off life force decrease the genetic potential of the human species. That's a big statement. Because what our genes are what? They're our blueprints, right? And we get our genes from where? Our parents, right? So whatever you get is what we get, right? It's the roll of the genetic dice. So whatever we get from our parents, we get from our parents. So what the geneticists have said for years, probably since the 50s, since the whole Watson and Crick came up with what the molecule DNA looks like, said that we are an expression of how our DNA responds, right? So whatever we have, we're going to have, there's nothing we can do about it. But that's not what geneticists have found over the years. There's a study called epigenetics, which means over genetics. And what they found, that epigeneticists have found, is it's not so much your genes that you've been given by your parents, it's the expression of those genes that's important. And the genes will express in either positive or negative ways depending upon the environment in which they exist. So, I loved your expression when I said McDonald's hamburgers, it was great. So, we eat garbage food, we smoke cigarettes, we drink, we don't exercise, right? That leads to a genetic environment that's less than optimal and can express in ways that we don't want to see that express. However, if the opposite is true, by the way, if we take care of this temple we've been given, if we exercise, if we eat right, if we get adjusted to reduce subluxation, then we're creating a genetic environment in which, even if we're dealt a negative genetic hand, we still have the opportunity to express more fully. And this guy's saying this years ago. And there's research studies just come out the past several years that have proven that this is true, by the way that our DNA is managed and cared for. Lee Hadley, MD. Subluxation alone is a rational reason for chiropractic care throughout a lifetime from birth, right? Now there's a guy who has a big worldview who can say that if this is true, if nerve system interference can lead to a body that breaks down and becomes ill, right? And that if reduction of subluxation, removing the subluxation through adjustment, allows the body to recover and to heal, would it not make sense that reducing subluxation from the beginning of the lifespan is going to help that individual to be more healthy and more functional? I would say yes to that. But when we have this conversation with people, they can't make that jump in their understanding. It doesn't make sense to them because they think from the cultural training we've had, we really should wait until we're broken until we try and do something, right? The prevention has never really been in the picture fully in our world. And that's exactly where we need to be as a culture. It needs to be about wellness and prevention. And the more we can prevent people, my wife and I were having this discussion on the way into the office today, that we're talking about our gratitudes and our blessings. What are you grateful for today? What are the things that you're grateful for? And she said to me on the way in, let's think of something that we've never thought about before that we're grateful for. And she came up with some really great stuff, like that Australia exists. Because I would love to go to Australia and experience what Australia has to share with me. You know, I thought that's a great gratitude, right? So at the end of our conversation, we came to the fact that thank God we have MDs that are on this planet who have been trained to do miraculous things with people. That they have this crisis care model of care that is the best in the world. In crisis care, we are the best. We're the best of any nation on the planet in regard to crisis care. I had a patient who had to lose his bladder because of cancer. And they created a new bladder for him out of a piece of his colon. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I mean, that is an amazing use of intelligence. And I'm grateful for these men and women who have dedicated their lives to that. But our goal as chiropractors is to help people to never get to that point in breakdown where they have to have that kind of care. That we can help them from their lifetime, from their birth, be able to live a life that's more healthy and more functional and stronger. Does that make sense? And guess what? It costs less. It costs less to prevent disease than it does to wait till you have it to try and treat it. And clearly in our culture we are spending trillions of dollars every year on trying to patch up the holes in the dam when what we should have been doing is really managing the dam so well that it never got holes in it, right? So I want to share with you something as we end here tonight. And one thing I do want to share with you is this idea of innate intelligence. Is neuroscience has come so amazingly far. What we know about the brain now is so amazingly deep. And we can pinpoint spots in the brain that cause the body to have its functions and do its thing, right? You guys have seen those studies, right? But yet when we look at the cells, right, and we break the cells down into the smallest components, which would be what? What's the smallest component of a cell? Is the atom, right? The molecule that makes up the atom, which is molecules, so the groups of atoms make up the molecule. But if we look at the smallest part of the molecule, it's the atom. If we look at the central part, if we go, and now electron microscopy allows us to go that far in, and now we have particle accelerators that jam these two things together. But when they get down into the deepest part of the atom, you know what they see? Nothing. Space. It's empty. It's this energy. So we can determine that the brain does this and this, but we can't determine what's the originator of the thought that creates the brain to create the action in the body. We don't know what that is. We don't understand what that is. It is, in my estimation, this life force that we're talking about right here. And we may never be able to put our finger on it, but we can see its expression everywhere. So the innate potential of the human body, this idea that we can be more by reducing subluxation, is exactly what our mission is. Yes, you come here because your back hurts. Yes, you come here because you have a headache or you got radiating leg pain. But our goal for you is for you to live a richer, more full life. And we know that those broken parts of you will recover as we continue to work. And that after the broken parts are repaired, that you're going to move on to a life that's better and more full. So I want to share something with you. We are raising money for a place called Oklahaven. Oklahaven is a clinic for severely disabled children that's in Oklahoma. It's a chiropractic clinic. And they've been around since 1962. They've helped thousands of kids over the years. They get no federal money. They get no state money. They get no money that comes from charitable organizations. I want to say Goodwill, but that's not it. It's gone out of my head. What is that? The name of it?
United Way?
United Way. They get no United Way money. Thank you. So their operating budget is strictly from donations from people like you and I. But we've been running this video, and can we actually turn that camera off, that projector off?
Mm-hmm.
We've been running this video, and this has touched my heart as I've been watching it, and I want to share with you a story. So I'm going to ask you, this is a mother, and she's going to share with you a little bit of her story of what happened with her son. Okay? So we're going to listen to it, and then we'll wrap up.
Born, everything was fine. There were no problems that we knew of, and he just didn't sit up when he was supposed to sit up. He didn't crawl when he was supposed to crawl, and he just didn't develop. So when he was about 9 months or a year old, I started looking for an answer and could not find any reason why he wasn't developing, you know, on the same schedule as he was supposed to be. So they decided to give him a garbage pail label. They called it a garbage pail label of cerebral palsy. They called it a garbage pail label because they couldn't give it another label or couldn't find a reason. We went through all the therapies and, you know, and he made progress with doing physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, all kinds of things. Then he made progress, but by the time he was 6 years old, he wasn't, he was walking with braces and thick glasses, and he used sign language. He had about 50 words that only I could understand. And somehow we found Dr. Bobby. Didn't know it was a chiropractor. I didn't even know where I was bringing him or what for. Somebody said, this doctor can help you, you should go here. It was Parker's first adjustment. He did get off the table, walk into the front room, and climb up into a chair without assistance, which he had never done before. He had to have help. He'd go to a chair and stand, and I would put him in it, you know. So then we get to Grandma's house the same night, and he went to the refrigerator and opened the refrigerator, which he didn't have the strength to do, and used 2 words together, and he said, I'm hungry. That was after one adjustment, one day of adjustments. And if he didn't have the chiropractic, he would still be trying just to walk from the front door to the back door. If we think of the body as a...
So, how amazing is that story? I mean, really. Can this boy understand a placebo effect? Because some chiropractor tells him he's going to get better because he gets adjusted. Is he going to be able to even understand what that means? Probably not.
Yeah.
And yet, from one adjustment, there's such change in the physiology and the function of his body. This is the bigger picture of chiropractic. This is what you're engaging in every single time you lay on that table. There's a little more of you that's going to express itself more fully. There's a little more of you that's going to work better than it did before. And as you keep building one building block on top of the other, on top of the other, on top of the other, it's unlimited, the potential you have as a human being. Your innate potential is unlimited. And yet we have people who say they're going to get hurt. They're not educated. Doesn't matter. What matters is that we receive the adjustment and express that life more fully. Whether somebody calls me a quack or says that I'm not a real doctor, it doesn't matter to me. I know that when I administer that adjustment, when I'm with you in that second, when we have exchanged that force, that you can have the potential to be more, and all that's inside of you can express itself more fully, my gosh, it doesn't matter what anybody says about me. You can call me anything you want to, as long as I can have that experience with you. But I can't have that experience with you if I can't get you to walk through the front door. Your friends and your families can't have that experience if they don't walk through that front door. You've got to share this story. The world is screaming and dying and pleading for this story. You have got to share this story. If you haven't had your spines checked, you need to do it. Tomorrow's the day to do it. It's free to do tomorrow. So I'm going to encourage you to reach out to somebody. Help us to lift up this world. Look, I'm not asking you to refer patients here because I need another patient. I don't. I'm good. Right? We're good. Our bills are paid. We're living a great life. I don't need you to refer somebody here because I need something more for me. I need you to refer them here because they need something more for them. And they don't know what it is. They're lost. So I thank you for reaching out to those around you. I thank you for being in these chairs tonight. Hallelujah. And our hope and prayer is that when you walk out that door tonight, you have something that's lifted you up. You have a kernel of information that will help your life to be better. And that you'll take that and do something with it. Do something with it. Our world needs you to do something with it. So I'm grateful for you guys. I thank you for your time tonight. And I look forward to seeing you here more as you learn more how to care for your body, how to uplift others, how to live a healthier, more functional life. So we're going to end a few minutes early tonight, but I'm grateful to have you here. God bless you all. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.